Okay, good morning, Professor Oglesby. We're about to start the Culture in Nursing PowerPoint. On my first slide, it says Culture Defined. Culture is defined as the customs, arts, social institutions, and achievements of a particular nation, people, or other social group. So this would be like for religious purposes, during the holidays you celebrate Hanukkah or Kwanzaa or Christmas. The arts with Native Americans, they have, the headpieces with all the feathers and the big earrings and the very colorful outfits. And for Hispanics, they have their flamenco dance outfits. Hawaiian peoples, you can see their outfits, the leis, they're appropriated all the time. Arts, social institutions, or arts like music, like jazz or rap or throat singing for Native Americans, just all different kinds of cultural practices. Social institutions. That could be like HBCUs or Hispanic colleges. Moving on, I've given a couple examples. Therapeutic cultural competence. So what I have written is understanding cultural competence and importance and being knowledgeable of health disparities, which is hugely important. Culturally competent care includes knowledge, attitudes, and skills that support caring for people across different languages and cultures. It is the ability to understand and communicate with people of many cultures. As nurses, we should be developing positive attitudes towards other cultures and their differences, and also it's important to gain knowledge on other cultures as well. Obviously, in nursing, you learn from experience. So if you're dealing with, for my case study, it was a Chinese American woman giving birth, you're going to want to learn, as you'll see in our case study, the practices that they have after they do deliver the baby. And American culture, whatever that would be, you give them the baby, you teach them how to breastfeed. Like, it's very cut and dry how we think it should be, but obviously there's America, it's the melting pot, so there's many other practices and beliefs after bringing a new life. We just say, someone's having a baby, but these thousands of year old cultures, like, that could be a little different for a lot of them, especially the Chinese culture. Cultural importance. It relates to the customs, art, and ideas within a society. The importance of culture is something that has a significant quality or value in a certain situation. As I was saying, Americans, moms, they're like, all right, let's pop this baby out of me. Like, they're so nonchalant about it, but other cultures, they're more reserved. I know certain religions, like the father can't be in the room, or you would direct all your questions to the male in the situation if there was one. So you do want to look out for not just being like, let's get this baby out of you. Like, it's not always so blunt like Americans are. Cultural importance, it provides important benefits and enhances our quality of life overall. And a few cultures may be similar, but many are varied in their laws, their dresses, the way they dress, their style, their social standards, religious beliefs, and traditions. Like I was saying, some women who are giving birth in certain cultures, if they were with a man, the male would expect you to direct all their questions towards them, especially being a male nurse. And other cultures, like, they wouldn't look you directly in the eye. They would kind of shy away from that because they see that as a form of disrespect. Just because it's not normal in America doesn't mean it's the complete norm anywhere else in the world. And moving on to being knowledgeable of health disparities. Health disparities are differences among populations in the availability, accessibility, and quality of healthcare services. I do have an aunt, she's a nurse, and she had a patient who didn't come in until she was 30 to 31 weeks pregnant, I believe, and that was her first prenatal visit. My aunt was just like, why would you wait? Like, it's kind of bad parenting. And another nurse had told her, she was like, she was telling me that she had just gotten health insurance. Like, so what was she supposed to do? Spend all her money preparing and going to doctor's visits for this baby, or should she have saved her money until she got the insurance and then delivered the baby? Because babies cost money, she's gonna have to spend money on this kid as soon as it's born. So who were we really to judge what she thought was best for her child? Health disparities affects people with low socioeconomic status, people of different races, gender, religions, and even sexuality. I know, like, say a trans woman or trans man who still had female reproductive parts got pregnant and was embarrassed to come out to tell her family and go to the hospital. Like, you can't just assume that she's going to be a bad parent because, or he's going to be a bad parent, I'm sorry, because he didn't feel comfortable going into a doctor's office. The next slide. Why is cultural competence important in healthcare? I put, it is important because by respecting a patient's health beliefs, you as a healthcare professional can foresee the effect on delivery of healthcare. Obviously, if you're walking into a place where you're supposed to heal, and that's already preconceived as scary, such as a hospital, you're going to want the staff to at least be on your side. So if you're not going to be respectful of their beliefs and understand that, as you'll see in our case study, a Chinese woman won't accept cold water or anything cold to drink after giving birth, and you think it's a little odd, like if you're going to sit there and judge her, then why would she want to come in and get help from anyone that would sit there and judge her? Cultural competence. It gives us the ability to elicit a patient's explanation of an illness and its causes. It gives us the ability to explain to a patient the healthcare provider's perspective on the illness and its perceived causes. Perceived causes, I would say, is something like, depending on their cooking or their lifestyle choices, say like for an Asian culture, like they use a lot of soy sauce and a lot of miso, and a Hispanic culture, it's a lot of, lime juice and salt and spices. So if it were something like gestational, like hypertension, you would understand from their culture that that's what the provider is believing to have led to the hypertension. You know what I mean? And it also gives you the ability to negotiate a mutual, agreeable, safe, and effective treatment plan, which any mother wants to hear when she's giving birth in a few short weeks. Cultural humility is the ability to maintain a respectful attitude towards individuals of other cultures, challenging your own bias and realizing that they are not always the same. It allows you to accept the differences in order to learn about other cultures. As I said, we learn from experience. So if you challenge your own beliefs and what you believe is normal and what other people believe is normal, then the next time around you'll be able to get it right for that second patient and give them the patient-centered care that they deserve. Okay, next I have my case study. This is where my 3 facts about Chinese Americans and postpartum comes in. So the case study says, the nurse teaches Mrs. Chen that it is important to drink fluids in order to replace fluids that were lost during birth and needed to facilitate the production of breast milk. The nurse gives Mrs. Chen a pitcher of ice water and suggests that Miss Chen drinks at least 8 ounces of water every hour. So I have ice water underlined. Several hours later, the nurse checks on Mrs. Chen's pitcher of water and notices that Mrs. Chen did not drink any of it. The nurse assistant adds new ice to the pitcher and explains again to Mrs. Chen why it is important to drink the fluids given. Mrs. Chen nods that she understands, which I also have underlined, and the nurse leaves Mrs. Chen expecting that she will drink the ice water. So what I have underlined is ice water and the fact that Mrs. Chen nods. So the ice water you'll see in the next part, you'll understand a bit more. The reason I underlined that she just nodded, that she understood, is because if English isn't her first language, a lot of times patients will just nod and act as if they know what you're saying, but really they're not grasping anything. So as soon as a nurse realizes that a patient is just nodding and not doing what they're saying, then you should realize that something's up, and that's a part of being culturally competent. You have to understand that English isn't everyone's first language. Next we have Mrs. Chen's husband comes in to visit his wife, and she tells him that she is thirsty. When Mr. Chen addresses this concern with the nurse questions if she is unaware of a cultural or physical barrier causing Mrs. Chen not to drink the water. So as soon as that came about, she said drink the water, Mrs. Chen nodded, didn't really understand, and then said to her husband that she was thirsty. That's when you're going to want to start to question, okay, well maybe there's something deeper going on here. So the nurse responds, please help me understand why you aren't drinking any of your water. Mr. Chen replies, my wife needs to avoid cold water during the next 30 days to return the balance between yin and yang to her body. She needs the warm energy force of yang right now, so she cannot drink cold water. So that is when the nurse is going to say, oh, okay, well now I know better. For the next time I'll know better. This is the things that you learn when you're being culturally competent. Lastly, I have the nurse then asks a question, according to your beliefs, what beverages can you drink? Mr. Chen replies that she prefers to drink hot tea right now as it will restore the yin and yang to her body after childbirth. The nurse then asks what kind of tea Mrs. Chen would like and gets the tea herself to ensure the patient is satisfied and well taken care of. So she went above and beyond, went and got her the tea herself, didn't make an aide do it, wanted to make sure that she was getting the fluids that she needed and under the circumstances that she needed for her cultural consideration and just ensuring that the patient got the care that she needed.